Hey there, everybody. My name is Phoenix Aurelius, and thank you for joining me for this, our laboratory update for June 2024 for the Phoenix Aurelius Research Academy. June was a huge month. We started off at the very end of May, like May 28th, heading out of town. We first flew into North Carolina, Nori and I did. Spent some time with her family and then drove up to West Virginia. We had to fly into kind of a big city in order to be able to pick up a Starlink internet unit in order to see if we would be able to get high-speed internet up at our off-grid location in West Virginia. And I am happy to report that that was definitely successful. Those of you who checked in and caught in on the last laboratory update for May will know that that was a success, and we actually even filmed our last one up there on site in West Virginia. So now there's a lot of things that we have come back and we've been starting to put together all sorts of processes and ideas and trying to kind of come up with a streamlined way of deciding how we're going to move. Of course, being able to move the entire laboratory the way that we have it, and all of the bottles and all of the spagyric tinctures and all of the herbs would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Literally, there is so much to move. And so we have a lot that we're going to have to downsize, and that has required us to come up with a strategy. And at the time of making this video, we're still kind of finalizing some of the details of that strategy, but suffice it to say that those details will be released soon, and it's going to be a very synergistic and mutually beneficial system, because we're going to be able to get a lot and move a lot of product through the doors here and get them into your hands. You will experience some enormous discounts and have the opportunities to actually help us to get out to that location. And the benefit of that is that once we're out there and on that land and we get established, we're going to have an awesome laboratory facility out there. We're going to have the ability for people to come and study, especially over time. We plan on building out a bunkhouse. Even further down the line, an Aurelian healing facility. There's so many different types of things that will actually be available once we get out there. We've got 10 acres. We have, absolutely no necessity for building permits. We're completely off grid. Everything can be powered the way that we want it to be powered, and we can build all of the systems from scratch. But even just to make the push out there will take a lot, and we will need your help. And so eventually we'll let you guys know how you can help and how that mutually is beneficial for you, and we'll be releasing those details here in the coming weeks. So developing that moving strategy is crazy. But at any rate, we were in West Virginia West Virginia and North Carolina for the first half of the month. We haven't solidified all of the details, but one of the things that came out of that was that we met up with an excellent legal cannabis business that has both THCA as well as CBD strains and a lot of other things. I mean, the caliber of this cannabis is just absolutely fire, and it's legal in all 50. And we have been in negotiations to create a Phoenix Aurelius Research Academy branded cannabis too. The details for this aren't finalized, but this is kind of on the plate and has been in the works, which is why I decided to mention it since June. And so we're hoping to be able to provide that. So whether you use cannabis for sleep or for tincturing or for cancer purposes or for whatever else, there's a fully legal product that we should be able to provide you with before too long that will ship to all 50. At the present moment, we probably will not ship those products internationally, including to Canada and other places, just because there's some restrictions. We don't want things to get held up at customs, but within the United States, it's all 100% legal, or at least for the time being it is. We'll see how they change laws in the coming months or years. But yeah, absolutely fire product, and we're excited to be able to offer both, we'll have 3 different products, 3 strains that are pretty consistent, a sativa dominant strain, an indica dominant strain, and a hybrid strain, just to kind of cover bases. And yeah, these are absolutely fantastic. I've been working with them myself. I enjoy them a great deal, and I know that you will too. I mean, the terpene complex alone on these things is outstanding. So very excited to hopefully bring that and offer that as some of our medicinal offerings here on the website. We got back on June 15th and immediately we hit the ground running. There were a ton of emails, there were a ton of, like catch up from being out of the office. And then on the 19th, it was a leaf day in the afternoon hours. And so I had to start a batch of freeze dried tincture of cilantro for one of our white label clients. I really only needed to produce 3 gallons, but I ended up producing 5. It's a little bit easier for me to produce 5 gallons. I usually give a discount to people who order 5 gallons at a time. The order was only for 3, but I ended up producing 5, so we've got 2 gallons here. If you guys are interested, if anybody listening to this is interested in carrying that product, I do have some stock available, and if not, then when our white label client decides that he would like to order some more, I've already got some laying around. So either way, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, that's starting a 5 gallon batch of tincture is no small feat, especially working the salts and getting everything ready for it. It really does take quite a bit. So that was on the 19th. Then on the 21st, we had an immersion student, Dr. Shannon McCarthy, arrive from Buffalo, New York, and she did a private immersion study with me. This is basically where people hire me, which happens a couple of times a year, to study things that they are particularly interested in based on the skills that I have. And so Shannon wanted to work with lion's mane mushroom, which is one of her favorite mushrooms, and learn how to make a bunch of really awesome medicines. Among that was learning how to use ultrasonication and an ultrasonic homogenizer, how to be able to utilize the freeze dryer in order to make some really cool cutting edge extracts, and then how to make spagyric products out of it as well. And so we ended up making a decoction of lion's mane, a freeze-dried lion's mane extract, a lion's mane medicated tallow, which we use to make a lion's mane tallow salve. And the medicated tallows are basically made the same way the medicated ghees are made within the concept of Ayurveda. Ayurveda thinks that tallow and lard and things like that have a very tamasic quality, so they don't use them within their system, but the methodology translates one-to-one between ghee and tallow or lard or whatever else, and so we use that system. We also isolated, I showed her how to isolate polysaccharides from mushroom and polypore decoctions. We also made spagyric tincture of lion's mane from beginning to end, and really to make the tincture part only takes a couple of hours. To work the salts, to run the filtration, work the salts, all of the many different times that you have to do it, all of the different leachings, and then all of the crystallizations after that, that takes about 2 days. And so Saturday and Sunday were spent entirely just working on those processes. And then we finished up the spagyric tincture Sunday evening and finished up all of those salts. And really the salts are the most foundational part of all alchemical work anyway. Running distillations, typically pretty easy. Once you do it a couple of times, it's a very straightforward process. Running filtrations, making macerations, all of those things, very, very straightforward. The salt work is by far the most difficult. The crystallization aspect is even more difficult. We showed multiple different methods of crystallization, how to begin them, how to see them through. We ran through a quick crystallization method for what we did, and then I went above and beyond the call of duty, I suppose you could say, and we also made a whole bunch of salts for her because she was not too jazzed about how much labor it was to actually make a spagyric tincture. All of the work that goes into just working the salts. And after 20 years, I can do this in my sleep, and it still takes a couple of days to be able to process it. So we ended up making a lot of extra salts and sending her home with those so that she would be able to make spagyric tinctures relatively easy, probably for the next like 25 years, to be perfectly honest, with the amount of salts I sent her off with, and how often she foresees herself actually doing this work. So it was super fun, super rewarding. I loved having her here. We're both classic rock enthusiasts, and so we were talking music the whole time, jiving, having fun. Ironically, and this is not the first time we've received this feedback, when we asked her what was your favorite part of the weekend, she said Nori's food. And that's absolutely true. Any of you who have ever come and studied with me, Nori just does a banger job at catering the entire event. We did lunches and dinners here all 3 days, and just absolutely impeccable, impeccable work. She was grain-free, and Nori and I have a history of cycling through grain-free and special type of grain diets and all these other things, and so we were able to make some really cool crepes, and well, I wasn't able to, she was able to, and served us some just extraordinary food. That's always one of my favorite parts of having immersion studies or private immersion study clients is that Nori just really goes above and beyond with the food, which she always does anyway, but it's like to even another degree, another level when we have that in. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, that was a really fun event. Also in June, lots of friends and family were in need of IDF work. I had one of my very best friends. He had all sorts of ear problems, jaw problems, TMJ types of things going on. I had a couple of other clients. I had one of my friends who was in Finland at the time and traveling to America who had all sorts of digestive issues. My father had a stroke actually that landed him in the hospital. I'm pleased to say that all of these clients have recovered or are still recovering really well. In the case of my father, he is recovering quite well, and at the time of making this video, he was actually just released yesterday from the hospital and is now back home. He has absolutely no paralysis, a little bit of weakness in his left hand, but no paralysis on either side of the body. His occupational therapy and physical therapy is going great. And so now it's just the long road of full rehabilitation, full recovery, doing various different types of exercises, keeping him busy, keeping him active, being able to utilize the brain and encouraging nervous system rehabilitation, as well as cardiovascular wellness to ensure that this doesn't happen again. We also had another very dear friend of mine who had some problems with entities throughout the month of June, and I was able to take care of that. That extended actually from May until June. And there were a few other folks that I started working on in June as well. It was a very, very, very busy month. There was so much IDF work. It's crazy how that just kind of happens in cycles. And again, like it's basically a 30-hour-a-week thing for me to do IDF work just on my friends and family alone, just for the issues that they encounter every single day. So when I say that people really need to get trained in this and undergo my trainings and pick up their SE5s and their IDF equipment, I mean, this is probably the most sustainable industry, if you want to think about it, that exists out there. And I have really pioneered a method that I think is absolutely extraordinary and that people can definitely be using. So if you don't have your SE5 yet, or don't have an SE5 or any IDF equipment, please take a look at our IDF equipment on the website. Consider getting yourself one. We just had a couple of people actually purchase one recently, an SE5. We've had several people pick up like remote balancers, remote balancing Chios, personal balancers. And if you don't want to get into the work, but you want to experience the benefit, we have tons and tons and tons of different options, especially scalar balance mats, and we already have pre-programmed hologram cards. You can pick up a room balancer, a personal balancer, lots of different types of things like this in order to provide intrinsic data field protection and wellness and bring that to your home, to your family, to your workplace, etc. It really makes an enormous difference. So lots and lots of IDF work. Speaking of SE5s, we actually bought another SE5 2000 gold unit for ourselves because we needed one in order to keep up with all of the programming of the cards and other things for the Chio business that we have taken over for Don Paris. And so we have one of those now in our bottling and spagyric apothecary room. That's also where all the shipping happens. But there's a lot of cool things that can happen with that. Because we have another unit that won't be taken up all the time with individual broadcasts, not only can we program cards and talismans and other things more readily now, but we'll also have the opportunity to imprint more custom IDF tunings into various spagyric tinctures over time as well. We're going to let things stabilize because just the Chio aspect of things will actually keep us quite busy. A lot of the broadcasts to program the cards and stuff can take a day and a half sometimes, and that's just to make like maybe 20 units or 30 units of one particular broadcast, and we carry 25 different pre-programmed cards, and so that takes up a lot of broadcast time, and that's actually why we needed to have another unit. So that's why we picked that up. And speaking of using it for programming a lot of IDF cards, I had a lot of IDF cards. We also did a couple of custom scalar balance bracelets. I did a couple of IDF hologram chips for the jewelry style Chio. Those were kind of custom work. And then we have some more generic work. We have a new card printer that Don Paris had sent us so that we can print out all of the branded cards for the Chio equipment, and we got that working, and we're working on producing as many cards for folks as we possibly can. I still have an order of like maybe 5 custom cards from one woman that I've been working with for quite a few months to get going, and so now I should be able to start cranking these things out. But yeah, it's absolutely outstanding. So and again, if you haven't checked out or you haven't had the opportunity to experience intrinsic data field broadcasts or any of the talismans or Chio instruments or anything like that, I don't know when you plan on starting, but I would suggest starting immediately, especially as things continue to change on the global scene with more noise and more restlessness and all of the other things that are going on out there, more electromagnetic pollution, more pollution just in general. I mean, things are going crazy out there, both in terms of psychological as well as physiological detriments. And being able to stay as protected and as well as you possibly can from as many angles as you possibly can is, in my opinion, the smartest idea. We have people all the time willing to bend over backwards and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on spagyric tinctures that eventually are going to run out, that they have to spend more money on in order to replenish. And as much as I love spagyric products and I know the efficacy of them myself, for myself, intrinsic data field work is actually cheaper in the long run, and there's nothing that any of my spagyric tinctures can do that IDF work is incapable of doing. And so dipping a toe into that at least, and using that as at least a first line of defense if you're not going to get into doing analysis or having like a remote balancer or other things like this, is going to be very, very important. I strongly believe in that. I've been researching this for years. I have tons of clinical trials, and that's really what I can say. And that's also why we agreed to take on the whole Chio business in the first place, is that these instruments are absolutely invaluable to people in the modern age. So if you haven't dipped a toe in, I invite you, I send the invitation your way. Feel free to do it at any time. Let's see, we have also, since the last week of June, been preparing for the Good Medicine Confluence. That's coming up. I believe it begins on July 10th, Wednesday, July 10th, and runs through that following Saturday. This is a huge amount of work for Nori and I to prepare for, especially since we don't have any other staff here full-time to be able to help us prepare. We did have Stetson, who is one of our fulfillment guys, come in and help to bottle some stuff, but we have to prepare all of the sales literature, all of the table stuff, all of everything for our booth. And every year we bring 55 to 60 different products. This year is actually like 68, I think, different products that 69 with spagyrizyme thrown in there. But we custom curate every single item on that list that we're bringing. We think about all the things that people typically ask us for, like, what do you have for this? What do you have for this? What do you have for this? And we come up with the list of the very best ones that we can possibly have. And this year we even went above and beyond and created a few more very particular custom formulations that are going to debut at the Confluence. And so we are super excited. And in addition to having a vendor booth and just being there, I'm also one of the main headlining speakers and presenters. And so this year I have 4 different things that I'll be presenting on. We'll be doing an introduction to Aurelian medicine, where I go through the entire Aurelian medicine spiel and let people know from beginning to end kind of what it's about, how we look at things and basic framework and things like that. I'm also going to be doing a demonstration on making an Aurelian spagyric tincture from beginning to end. There are some people who have made spagyric tinctures before, or who have heard the term spagyric, have learned to process them with water, who add ash back to their tinctures to do all these things. And although those ways aren't wrong, they definitely don't produce a pharmaceutically active product in the end that is really, really ideal and that is standardized. And so this is why I've added the term Aurelian spagyric tincture to distinguish it from just traditional other spagyric tincture methods that you may have learned from other folks. We constantly receive feedback that our products are head and shoulders, not only in taste and in quality, but also in effect from every other spagyric tincture that they've ever tried. And that's not to put anybody down. I love everybody who's doing this work. A lot of them are my good personal friends, so I'm not trying to bash on anybody here. I'm just saying that the feedback that we receive and my own experience here is such that it is an enormous difference. And so we are making a very concerted effort to be able to show what those differences are, and I will be demonstrating that in a 2.5-hour time frame at the Confluence, making something from beginning to end. And where we cannot be doing all the calcining and leaching crystallization within that time frame, I do have videos from my courses and a couple of other videos that we've produced specifically for this event that will debut at this event for all of the students there. So it's amazing because just the cost of the tickets alone is so much less than what I would charge for somebody to come in and do this, or an online class or whatever else, and you will get to see things from beginning to end. It's really a massive value added thing. And that's just one class that I'm teaching. For the cost of the admission to the Good Medicine Conference, you get all of the different speakers and admission to all of them. It's so amazing. I can't say enough about this event. In fact, if you don't have tickets and you want to go, there are still tickets available. It's held in Durango, Colorado this year, up at Fort Lewis College, which is at this awesome plateau high above the city. It's really, really fantastic. You can go to goodmedicineconfluence.com. And of course, if you've purchased any of our products over the last couple of months, you've probably received a little postcard flyer about it too, so feel free to take a look at it. Some of my very, very favorite friends and presenters and teachers are all there, and it's just an unreasonably amazing and enchanting event, and I would really love to see you there. So aside from those, I'm also going to be doing a hands-on class this year. I'll be bringing a bunch of material and an ultrasonicator and like a lot of other things so that people can make tinctures and infused oils if they wanted, if they brought their own oils. They can make infused oils, they can do all sorts of different types of stuff. Being able to make tinctures using ultrasonication in a very short period of time, which is invaluable for a wide number of reasons, but largely because if you start a tincture today, traditionally it's not going to be ready for, at least 2 weeks, hopefully a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, unless you can speed up that process. And utilizing the technology and the implements that I have brought to the process here and have kind of integrated into Aurelian Spagyria, you'd be able to speed that up many, many times. And that's important because if you're hurt now or if your family members are sick now, they can't wait for 2 weeks to a month in order for the product to be ready. You have to be able to produce these things somewhat quickly, and the methodologies that I'll be showing will allow you to do that with relatively minimal equipment and minimal cost involved. So there's that, and there's another class that I'll also be teaching on transpersonal alchemy there as well, because that is such an important component. So many people are sick due to psychological reasons and to reasons pertaining to their neuro-emotional states, and in my experience, nothing is more effective than transpersonal alchemy at being able to overcome those things. There are a lot of other adjunct things that can fit into the transpersonal process too, like various therapies and various adjunct kinds of practices and exercises and other things that fit together seamlessly inside of that process that I want to be able to expose a wider audience to, and realize that sometimes we can try and heal with herbs and herbal spirit medicines and do all these other things, but what it really comes down to a lot of times is doing our own neuro-emotional and psychological work to ensure that we have the very best neuro-emotional and psychological health so that it doesn't precipitate into the physical and cause other issues. So yeah, I'll be presenting on all of those things. Speaking of classes that I'm teaching, I am very pleased to announce that we have some upcoming immersion classes that will be going on in September. This will technically be the second weekend of September that we start these. I believe it starts on the 6th, 7th, and 8th of September, And that is going to basically be a class on how to make Aurelian standard spagyric tinctures. If you have not yet taken my Spagyria 1010 course, or even if you have, this course, this immersion course that I'm offering that weekend is going to be absolutely spectacular, because you will actually see all of the processes from beginning to end in my laboratory. We're going to go through all of the IDF stuff, how we create standards for the amount of biomass to ethanol ratios. You're going to also see how we balance and clear all of the ingredients before we do it. You're going to see so many of those different IDF components that have remained elusive for a lot of different people. You may have heard me talk about them, but you've never actually seen them. You'll be able to see them. I'll be doing it live. And then we'll also be making spagyric tinctures here in the laboratory and working through all the salts and crystallizing them and everything else. Even if you have registered in the Spagyria 1010 course, that course was made several years ago, and since that time I have evolved enormously. The vast majority of that course is still very applicable, but there are other technologies, other tools, other tips that I have developed as part of the Aurelian standard since that course has come out. So there's a lot of new information. We'll also be showing how to use the astronomological calendar in the lab. We'll be going through a lot of different things in those 3 days. It's jam-packed. And then for those who want to continue on, or those who are ready to go above just standard spagyric tinctures and elixirs, we will also be holding a course that's called Elevated Essentials. I've taught this a wide number of times. In fact, it's a course that I just haven't been able to create the literature for, that we have had filmed for years, that would be the next follow-up to Spagyria 1010, which is essentially Spagyria 1020. And it teaches you all of the critical distillation skills that you need to make further items of spagyric pharmacopoeia. And it's also going to teach you why you would want to use various items of spagyric pharmacopoeia, as opposed to just utilizing tinctures alone or elixirs alone. We will be making 4 different items of spagyric pharmacopoeia. We'll be doing cohibated spagyric tinctures, we'll be doing rarefied spagyric tinctures, we'll be doing spagyric essences per destillatio, and we will also be doing philosophic spagyric essences, all in a 4-day period, which starts on the 9th, and I think that's the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th of September, where that will be going on. Now, you can register for either of these or both of these. If you register for both of these, you'll be studying with me for an immersion for 7 days, and there is a discount if you register for both classes, so, or both courses, I should say. Both of these events, I can only host 8 people here. We can technically do more, but it gets a little tricky for the catering component of it. But we're only accepting 8 students this time, so these are bound to fill up fast. They always do. So if you are interested, be sure to go to the website right now. All of the classes are listed on the website at the present moment. You can purchase them, you can register, you can reserve your space, and get ready to come and study in September. It's an absolutely amazing opportunity, and it might be one of the last, if not the last, immersion opportunities in this space. And it will take me a little while to be able to offer immersion opportunities once we get to West Virginia. So if you really want to come study with me in person, have the opportunity to ask me questions, work with me, check out the lab, get hands-on experience in the lab, things like that, see all of the equipment, all of those things, this would definitely be your opportunity to do that. So be sure to register immediately, and hopefully we'll see you guys in September. All right, a few other things. Angstrom minerals are now available on the website. I have been using this brand of Angstrom minerals for quite a long time now, at least 4 or 5 years regularly, and a lot of these have actually kept me alive in certain circumstances where I've had some very debilitating genetic problems that have prevented me from utilizing calcium, utilizing iron, utilizing other things over the past couple of years. And if it wasn't for a completely bioavailable, safe way of taking ionic minerals, I would not actually be standing here today, nor would I have been able to keep my business going through all of these things. I firmly stand by the quality that this product, all of these products have, and so we've decided to use them. So basically ionic minerals dissolved in deuterium depleted distilled water at very particular parts per million. The benefit about angstrom minerals is that it's very, very hard to overdo it because they are so small that if the cell needs them, they can pass through the cell and be absorbed by the cell. And if the cell doesn't need them, then they exit the cell and can be excreted as a waste in a very short period of time, preventing bioaccumulation and preventing other issues. There's also some research out there that shows that various angstrom minerals can actually help to detoxify heavy metals of the same mineral composition that there are. So if people have heavy metal zinc or heavy metal iron or heavy metal copper or whatever else in their system, by taking angstrom minerals, there's a pretty significant and growing body of research that shows that those can bind to and eliminate the heavy metals very safely from the body, performing a type of chelation effect. So these are extraordinary. There are some that I think everybody needs to stock up on. Potassium, calcium, magnesium as basic electrolytes, almost everybody needs. And according to the best statistics that we have medically, there's somewhere between 50 and 80% of Americans that are deficient in magnesium. This can cause everything from muscle twitching to cardiovascular disease, which is, I think, still the #1 cause of disease in the United States and most of the world as well. There's also sleep disorders and so many other things that just magnesium alone is extremely, extremely beneficial for. And there's another product that I like that is kind of more full spectrum. It's very heavy on the electrolytes, but it contains like 70 or 80 different trace minerals in an angstrom form. This is called Mineral of Life. If there was only one product of all of the angstrom minerals that I would personally suggest somebody looks into, it would be Mineral of Life. There's not one person out there or one family out there where I would not say stock this in your home apothecary, have multiple bottles of it, be ready to use it, because it is so ubiquitously important to health and wellness to be able to have healthy mineral levels. So, but we do have lots of them. We have gold, we have silver, we have magnesium, manganese, zinc, iron, copper, calcium, potassium, iodine, all sorts of different types of things in exceptionally bioavailable forms. They're more or less 100% bioavailable, definitely no less than 95% bioavailable. You just set them under the tongue. There's no alcohol burn like there are with tinctures. It's just a water type of thing with a mineral taste in it. And they are completely pure. None of this ionic nonsense from companies like the one out here at the Great Salt Lake that includes, you buy a potassium thing, it has like 2% potassium in it, and all. Those are all nonsense. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your money. You're not getting the right types of mineralization. This is the only form of mineralization that I use personally and that I suggest and that we use within the Aurelian medicine system. So if you're interested in those are now available on the website. And lastly, we have upgraded our spagyric product labels. And I know you're probably thinking like, oh God, Fee, you just upgraded the labels. We did, but here's the deal. Nobody wrote into us, which I'm really, really shocked about, but our new labels, as awesome as they are and as great as they look, over time, if you have oils on your fingers or if you get the labels slightly wet or damp, we notice that the ink starts rubbing off. And I'm not a big fan of that. I want to know what the hell is in my bottle. I don't know about y'all, but it's kind of a big deal to me to know what I am taking at any given time. So with that being said, what we figured out was that we would be able to get a completely clear label to go over the top of our handwritten labels that will seal it from moisture and oils and other things. And the side effect of that is that it looks bomb. It looks so, so good. Very, very pro. It has this nice kind of shiny finish, and it's really cool to see that shiny gloss type of finish over a handwritten label. It looks extraordinary in my opinion. It's hands down the best labeling solution I've ever seen. A little bit slower for us labeling here on the back end. It was already kind of slow that we have to, hand write everything in, but the, alternative is having printed labels for like 500 different products, and that's not really feasible either. So the handwritten thing with this new label looks awesome, but most importantly for you, it's not going to smear, it's not going to get water damage or UV damage or degrade over time, the quality of the label, and you'll be able to see what that product actually is, time after time after time, no matter how many times that you use it. And so that was a big upgrade, and we're very happy that that's implemented. Those of you who have ordered products over the last couple of weeks have probably received those. And so, yeah, if you like those better, go ahead and comment on the video. Go ahead and, write into us, let us know. Sometimes we're just checking for a pulse, making sure that y'all are still alive, because there's a lot of feedback that we kind of expect we would get, and sometimes we don't always. And of course, it's summertime now, people are busy or whatever. But feel free to let us know how you're liking things. Comment on socials, on this video, whatever else. So I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, there's a lot going on here in July too, but we'll get to that on our next July report. In the meantime, all of you guys watching this from the United States, at the time this comes out, yesterday will have been July 4th. And so we hope that you had a very happy July 4th and a great Independence Day celebration. And for the rest of you countries that are out there, I'm sure that you can also sympathize with us celebrating your freedom from the British Empire. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write into us. It's support@phoenixaurelius.org. And as always, thank you so much for everything. This work would not be possible without you. Many blessings.